Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I'm your host for today's episode, Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I am joined today by a very special guest, one of my favorite people in the world, Sangram Vajre, Chief Evangelist and Co-Founder of Terminus. Sangram, how are you doing today, man?
I am super excited. And Logan, thank you so much for having me, man. The admiration is mutual for sure.
Oh, awesome, man. It was such fun doing our Takeover Tuesday here recently on the Flip My Funnel podcast. It's great to have you back on B2B Growth here. We've been doing an entire week of content on account-based marketing. It only seemed fitting to cap off this week with a couple of conversations with you. So today we're going to be talking about marketing as a function of sales. You had a post on LinkedIn about this here recently, got some good engagement, possibly a little bit of controversy, people with some good opinions, which I think makes for a good topic. But just to kind of preface things a little bit, Sangram, we're also going to continue the conversation with a bonus episode with you tomorrow on Saturday, where we're normally doing solo episodes with James or our Behind the Curtain series. So stay tuned for that. There will be a little more information, folks, at the end of this conversation. But Sangram, before we get into any of that, for folks who aren't familiar with you as much as we are here, I would love for you to share a little bit about your background, what you guys are up to at Terminus these days, and maybe touch on your shift last year from CMO at Terminus to Chief Evangelist.
Sure thing. So for most people who don't know me, I guess the most relevant experience that I had prior to this was running marketing at Pardot that led to the acquisition of ExactTarget and then Salesforce. And then I ended up spending a couple of years at Salesforce before recognizing this big gap in the whole marketing and sales world, which we now affectionately call account-based marketing. Ended up writing the first book on ABM in 2016 that Wiley's published. And then thanks to you all that we also have a podcast that is happening and it's been super exciting to do that called Flip My Funnel. All that kind of sums up into that. I try to keep myself super busy with conversations that are happening in the market, especially when it relates to marketing and sales. I'm probably well known for more controversial topics like those that you just mentioned, where I firmly believe that value of marketing as a function is defined by sales. So we might go into that in a little bit. And when it comes to the shift of going from being a CMO to Chief Evangelist, I think when you're a co-founder of a company, I feel like you really don't need any other title. You kind of wake up, sweeping the floors to making a really awesome customer dinner at the end of the night, and you start over again. And that's typically a life of any founder in general. So it really became very apparent for me as we got into like the 3-year, when we hit close to about 200 people or so in our company, that I'm not as effective anymore as I was for team meetings and team kind of one-to-ones, given the travel, the podcast, the exposure that we were trying to create for our brand, and the kind of opportunities we were getting. So we really needed to have somebody who is in the office, working with the team, doing real justice to a real marketing leadership. And I found myself very much into helping and influencing sales, or influencing product roadmap, influencing customer success. We started things like customer in the office program and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always kind of like squirrel kind of person. So it's really hard for me to be tied to a role that forces me to be in one function. So as opposed to that, we decided last year that, hey, why not just focus on really for whatever is the 10x bet for the company. And as a co-founder, I feel like that's aptly suits what I do, and hire somebody who actually is genuinely working on it, wants to build their teams, can have the time to focus on career conversations and all that stuff at one-to-one level. And I can almost be set free to do all these crazy things. So that's really led to that journey.
I think you have a lot of awesome ideas personally. So what have been some of the benefits for you and for your team in making that move, Sangram?
Yeah, I think as we hired a new CMO and we had a more functional responsibility, I feel like things are just way better, purely because now somebody has the time, has the almost not only the credibility but also the real drive to do better things at any and everything. We just relaunched our brand, Terminus, last week, so that was also really, really cool to see and come together. So a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take it from there into one of these topics that you're passionate about. And that is, you mentioned it earlier, marketing as a function of sales, period, as you put it on LinkedIn here recently, I think. So tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about that and maybe why it kind of strikes people the wrong way at times. And let's just start there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we a lot of times it's just human nature. So it's really nobody's fault there, but it's human nature to associate self-worth by title. And when you look at self-worth equals title, then you essentially say, okay, well, my value is defined by what I bring to the table for my own job. And in reality, when we started the company, I realized there is something called as sales and marketing efficiency. And if you have any investors, or if you have been worked with a public company or a fast growth company or anything like you and have worked with any of the CFOs, you'll recognize that is what they look at. The investors, the executive team, they're looking at how is our sales to marketing efficiency look like, which means sales and marketing are tied to the hip. There's nobody looks at marketing differently than sales. If the sales numbers are going up, marketing will get more budget. If the sales numbers are not going up and they're going down, marketing budget is cut. It's how it's working if you're in B2B. And the reason is sales can exist without marketing. And as you can imagine, that's really a hard pill to swallow for a marketer. But I had to say that because I realized that there are companies out there that are doing phenomenally well with absolutely no or to very minimal marketing. And as a marketer, our job is to figure out a way to not only incrementally, but exponentially grow sales. And that is the only reason we exist in the organization to come in, because they can exist without marketing. So going back, kind of really getting to the root of it, Logan, I felt like this was really important to be said, is that, look, our value is a function, not as an individual, not as a title, not as a person, none of that, but as a function, it really is tied to sales. So if you can't do that and cannot accept that, then you're going to have these wars inside the teams where, well, who gets the credit, right? Who makes the number? Well, sales don't follow up on my leads. Like all those conversations, if those are what's happening in your company, the reality is then marketing doesn't really understand why they exist.
Man, I think that's really a fundamental shift that a lot of people can make that can change their perspective on sales and marketing alignment. If you look at, hey, we have a common goal. We are supporting you. We are enabling you versus, hey, we're doing our thing. You guys are doing your thing. This is how we're performing and this is how you're performing. Because when you look at it this way, as marketing as a function of sales, then that creates that one goal because you really are in alignment, not to use a buzzword, but as opposed to we're here and we're here, we're behind you trying to push you forward in the seat of the rocket ship and we're the blasters behind, or whatever analogy you want to use, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and so we that turned out into that really even more manifested for us into our core value. So one of our core values is one team. And it really started with sales and marketing acting as one team that led to the organization acting and behaving as one team, both internally and externally. And now it's one of our core values that everybody talks about. Hey, one team, we have to act and behave and demonstrate values of one team. And so it is a very powerful, very impactful, and almost a forcing function to really make sure that you're focused on the right things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. So what role does that play in a shift to ABM? Do you feel like you have to have that mindset going into an ABM approach, or is it something that then starts to seem more normal once you shift to a more account-based marketing approach? Where do those two kind of fit together? What comes before the other, or how do they kind of work in tandem, Sangram?
Yeah, I mean, those are hand in glove, Logan, because it really manifests itself in that way. If you really think about, if marketing is a function of sales, well, how do we measure? How do we look at success? Well, guess what? No sales team ever hired a lead executive. All of them hired account executive, which is why account-based marketing is such an interesting thing. It's like, look, if you felt like there was an issue between collaboration between sales and marketing and they were not following on leads, oh yeah, because you're not giving them leads from the account they care about. So that's where the issue was. So again, this whole one team approach really pushes the boundaries and says that if you're going to act as one team, we need to start using the same vocabulary, which means accounts. That's what sales cares about. That's what they're working on. Of course, there are people in those accounts, but those are accounts. Nobody says, I close Sally, I close Joe or Logan or Sangram. They would say, no, I close Terminus or Coke or Pepsi, whatever that is. So understanding and using the same vocabulary matters, which is why I'm such a huge fan of account-based marketing, because it is not marketing-based marketing or sales-based marketing. It is account. That's what we are all in the business of. So it is 1,000% closely tied, Logan.
Today's growth story revolves around search engine marketing. Delphix, a big data platform, had hired an agency to manage their Google ads a few years ago, but they weren't seeing the results they wanted to see. Being such a technical B2B solution, they set out to find a team that could take on their challenge. After countless proposals, they found the perfect fit: Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. In just 1 week after launching Directive's campaigns, Delphix saw their lead volume double and their cost per lead drop by 60%. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, Sangram. So as you guys settled on one team to being so crucial to your team values, what are some of the things you mentioned? Forcing functions. I know you and James have talked about this topic a lot, and I think there's a lot of power there. But without going, too deep there, once you kind of, whatever your version of one team looks like as an organization to get sales and marketing viewing things in these ways, what are some tactical ways that you guys went to implementing things that could help drive that from a day-to-day perspective?
Oh man, there's just so many, right? So one of the things that we super focus on is this idea of customer in the office, which essentially brings more depth to the conversation. We can talk about accounts all day long, but if you don't know what this person really is about, what they say, what matters to them, it really is a big challenge. So we started this customer in the office program that brings in a customer every month or every 6 to 8 weeks, and that all the organization gets to ask them questions. They share what their challenges are, their results look like, and those kind of things. So that's just a simple thing that people can go implement tomorrow. Go bring a customer in your office every 6 to 8 weeks and see how the product, the innovation, the marketing, sales alignment, the words that you use on your website, the case studies that you create, everything would really manifest itself and change. So that's just a simple example. The other thing for us was the scorecard. Marketing and sales in most organizations have two different scorecards. Marketing scorecard says how many people came to the website. Sales people are saying, well, how many deals are in the pipeline? So it's just two different things, right? So it really allows them to have one scorecard. And we are a big fan of this idea of team scorecard, which is target, engage, activate, and measure. I'll say that again. Target, engage, activate, and measure. That team format, the team one team, really led to this team scorecard where we need to figure out and know very transparently which accounts we are targeting, how are we engaging with them, How are we activating our sales team and marketing team to run plays? That may be dinners, that may be direct mail, that may be one-to-one ads, that may be personalized content using Uber Flipstream, that may be using intent data through Bombard or Everstring, all those different things. But how are we actually activating our marketing and sales team based on the fact that we are going after the right accounts, and then based on the fact that we are engaging them and seeing some activity on them from those people in the accounts that you care about, and then measure the engagement levels, right? Measure how much time are they spending with you, how many people from that account are engaging. So essentially, marketing is now going to start having, or at least in our company, and I feel like that's where the future is, where marketing can help sales. And get this is actually another controversial and big idea to jump on, is I think marketing can actually start forecasting which deals sales can close if they do true account-based marketing. And what I mean by that, Logan, is because marketing has so much insights, and if they can be in the process from the very beginning where they're figuring out which accounts to go after, they have the data that shows which accounts is engaging. They have the data also now to see how sales and marketing plays are engaging and how much time people are spending. So they have all these measurement metrics across the board. Guess what? In the end of the month, when the salesperson says, hey, you know what? We're going to close all of these 10 accounts. Marketing can come in and say, hey, man, this is awesome. You feel like you're going to close these 10 accounts. But let me tell you, there are only 2 accounts where there is engagement that we can see, that is on website. They have clicked your emails. They have listened to some audios or case studies. But those only 2 accounts where we have 3 or more people from that account engaged. The rest 8 accounts, nobody showed up, right? So the chances of them closing is like a miracle. So it's really the idea where if you're truly focused on the right accounts, marketing should now have so much intelligence that they should be able to help forecast which accounts are truly going to close.
Yeah. I mean, that ties really well back into our topic today of marketing being a function of sales, because most people think of, okay, if marketing is a function of sales, they help them close more deals, and maybe that's, air cover to the right accounts. But when you look at this entire shift to ABM and the alignment that comes out of it, I hadn't even thought of marketing helping sales to be able to forecast better, not only to close better, but to forecast better. Other things that are very fundamental to their sales process are being affected by this shift.
Oh, 100%, Logan. I think that is what 2019 is, and in my view, is going to be all about, is where marketing stops being this reactive function of the business that does maybe just brand work or maybe grading target accounts put together or just coming up with plays. But marketing becomes this proactive function of the business where they're actually helping your sales team and your finance team figure out, based on engagement level and engagement data, truly tell, you know what, we think we're going to be 85% to our pipeline quota or whatever that is. And imagine the level of confidence that marketing will have and the seat at the table. They would not be, you don't have to anymore beg to be at the table. You don't have to try to hack into the market, go to market meeting or the CFO CEO meeting. You actually will be invited to that meeting because you can give that intelligence that nobody, like literally nobody, no Excel spreadsheet, no CFO, no salesperson would actually have. It's a marketer who truly has this information sitting, and they would be cherished.
Yeah. I love finishing on that point today, Sangram, because it goes back to proving the value of marketing. This shift of seeing marketing as a function of sales, which, as you mentioned, can be a tough pill to swallow for some marketers, feeling like their role and thus, them as a person are being undervalued. But that's really not the case. When you take this mindset and you look at the way that this alignment can actually set you up to be a powerful force in your organization, it leads to these sorts of things that you're talking about, where you are valued that much more and marketing is valued that much more as they bring data and insights and real action and revenue to the organization. I think we got to end it there. Well, Sangram, this has been great. We're going to be chatting tomorrow about how you measure ABM differently and why you should be doing it. For folks who would like to reach out or connect with you between now and then, what's the best way for them to find you as we wrap up today, man?
Well, so I'm pretty active, as you know, Logan, on LinkedIn. Try to post and hopefully add value to one person every day. That's my goal. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening today. We're going to have Sangram back on tomorrow talking about why and how to measure ABM differently, get into some tactics as we've covered some high level strategy and some big thoughts today. Sangram, thanks for being on the show, man.
Oh, man, super pumped.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity. Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency. You introduce the power of podcasting and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.